to bring the council meeting to order, please. If we could have everyone take their places. Councillor McCann? Councillor McCann? We're about to start the meeting. Please, yes. Prior to the open session, council met for a brief closed meeting. It was moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Horn. Pursuant to Section 239(2) and 3 of the Municipal Act SO 2001 C25 as amended, Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound moved to a meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to D, labor relations or employee negotiations, and was a personnel update. Okay, just as a reminder, this meeting is live streamed, recorded, and is available on the internet by visiting the Town of Parry Sound website at www.parrysound.ca/in/town-hall/inside-town-council ASAP. Or ASP. Yeah, there you go. Please note that the public meeting that was called by council for October 2nd has been canceled. The public meeting was called to provide information to the public regarding both sides of the fluoride question on the ballot. Only one third-party advisor was able to attend, and both TPSs are required to attend to comply with the Municipal Elections Act. Okay. Are there any additions or prioritization of the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a mover and seconder for the adoption of the agenda? Councillor McCann and Councillor Marshall. That the council agenda for October 2nd, 2018 be approved as circulated. All in favor? That's carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? No? Okay, may I have a mover and seconder for the minutes, please? Councillor Horn, Councillor Borneman. That the minutes of the regular council meeting held September 18th be approved as circulated. Any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? That was carried. Questions of staff? Councillor Borneman. Yep.
I have a couple of questions of staff. I'm going to start with Chief Thompson. He gave I thought it was a really good summation of a paramedicine program at the district municipal meeting a week or so ago, and I'm wondering if he could provide an update for council and the public with respect to what he's doing there.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I had the opportunity to speak at the District Municipal Association meeting and talked about a program we call Community Paramedicine. And what Community Paramedicine really is we have two medics who work in a proactive manner rather than a reactive manner. Most EMS responses, of course, are reactive to an emergency that occurs. Community paramedicine is a proactive system, and what these medics do is referrals come in mostly from our own staff, but also from some outside agencies of individuals in our community, mostly remote individuals, but there are many within the urban centers as well, who fall through the cracks of healthcare, either who have been discharged from other programs, CCAC programs, or things of that nature, and they're continuing to have problems. And we generally recognize these due to 911 calls, and the medics who are in the responding units can identify these individuals and refer them to our community paramedicine program. And what will happen is we have two medics who work in this fashion, one on the east side of the district and one on the west side of the district, and they will make contact with these individuals, these patients within the community, and set up appointments to go and talk to them and find out, you know, what's causing their health problems. It could be simple things like diet or not being able to remember to take their medications properly, not taking care of themselves properly. These are people who are falling through the healthcare cracks, and they're getting noticed by our team, and the community paramedics go in and help these individuals get back on track. And it's better for everyone. It's a fantastic program. The people who we touch don't have to go through the stress of emergency calls. Their quality of life is incredibly increased. The medics stay in contact in an as-needed basis with individuals, so sometimes that could be just a phone call every other month once they get one of these patients on track, and it could be something as simple as medication once they have them taking their medications properly. They get them on track, and it may only require a once every month phone call, or maybe it's more often than that. It's once a week. They'll go and actually visit the person and check on them and make sure that they're in good shape. The program has expanded immensely now, so that with physicians buying into it, the medics actually take Bluetooth enhanced equipment with them, and while they're on scene of a patient's house, they can video network with physicians if they need to, for wound care or any number of issues. They have stethoscopes with them, which they can utilize. And the sounds that the medics are hearing in a person's house are transmitted wirelessly to the doctor's office. So the physician in the doctor's office can hear exactly what is going on in an individual's house and exactly what the medics are hearing. And they can write up scripts right there and let the person know that they'll just need to go in and get them from Shoppers or get them the scripts delivered from Shoppers. It keeps people in their homes longer, keeps people healthy longer, and the quality of life is greatly increased. So there are a whole number of facets with regards to this program that I'm not even touching on because I don't have the time here. One of the really exciting parts from a municipal standpoint is that land ambulance is funded 50-50 between the province and municipalities, but this particular program is funded 100% by the province. So, I mean, that's fantastic that it's not even municipal dollars that are going into the program to make this work, and that our medics are having such an impact on people within our community.
Thank you. That was appreciated. You had another question?
I do, not of Chief Thompson. I just wanted to say that, you know, as soon as we heard that the province was paying, everyone was in favor. When they heard what they were doing, it was pretty solid support from across the district for that program. So I think it's a good thing moving forward. My other question is for Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, the last number of meetings we've had different rezoning applications approved. We've heard of potential housing starts and opportunities. The one thing we haven't heard is what our capacity to grow is at the water and the wastewater treatment plant at this point, and whether or not there's any potential with this fog testing program that you're undertaking to increase that capacity, whatever it might be.
Mr. Brown?
Through your worship, to answer the first part of the question, we've asked our engineer, Triton Engineering, to do a complete review of our capacity and the amount of houses and buildings that are on the queue for building. So we're waiting for that letter. We're hoping to hear from them by the end of this week or early next week of what our latest capacity numbers are. With regards to our fog testing that we've been working extremely hard at doing, I wanted to thank the wastewater plant staff as well as Rob Artiega, the work they've been doing to date. Approximately 75% of the town has been successfully fogged. We have found, as an example, I did a quick review with them today. We found over 15 storm sewer catch basins directly connected to our sanitary sewer. So that's road drainage going directly into our sanitary. We discovered 9 commercial buildings in the downtown area with flat roofs that are connected directly to our sanitary sewer. So we're finding, you know, these issues, these problems that need to be looked at. We did, you know, we're still in the process of doing all the calculations, but we did a quick calculation today with regards to the amount of water just from 9 commercial buildings, flat roofs. It was we had a storm event on September 21st. We estimated approximately 132,000 liters of water from a roof, from all the roofs, going into our sanitary sewer. We had a sewage bypass at Station 6, where all this goes into, of approximately 100,000 liters. So theoretically, we could have had an uneventful night as far as bypasses there, as an example. So we're finding these gems, we're finding these problem areas that we're going to actively pursue in 2019. But you know, these are the kind of things that we need to get off the sanitary sewers. These are the kind of things that will allow us to increase our capacities at the wastewater plant. Everybody around the table knows how I feel about water meters in Parry Sound, and we've been working hard at putting water meters in people's residents and as well as buildings, which effectively reduces the amount of water that we're producing, because people are now basically starting to pay per use. So you know, you're seeing you know, these houses that don't have any meters, they're not using water all the time. They now have to pay for the amount of water that they're using when you put a water meter in. So that's a benefit as well. So all these little packages that we're doing will come together, and we'll be able to create a system or a plan that will allow us to reduce the amount of wastewater or stormwater that's going to our wastewater system, allowing us more capacity at the wastewater plant. We'll be able to reduce the amount of water that we're producing at the water plant to allow us more capacity at the water plant. But it takes time, and it takes a lot of energy on the staff's part to do this. So all those things together we're working on, and that we'll be able to provide council in early 2019 a report that will help us, you know, down that path. I could go further in all the things that we're doing as far as the fog testing, but I can tell you that we've been highly successful. You know, we've been, I'll give you one more example as an extreme. We're having people coming out of their houses saying, we've got fog coming into our house from a pipe that's in the basement or a pipe that's underneath their sink. So we go in, we look at it, and we say, this should be capped. This should be sealed, because you're getting sewer gas into your house on a regular basis. So now we're giving them the power for them to, you know, make themselves feel better by showing them that there are problems in their house that we're helping them fix. So I think it's been a success. I'm very proud of what we've done, and I'm hoping by, as I say, early 2019, we can provide a report to council that will allow them, the next council, to look at, you know, ways that we can reduce, ways that we can increase the capacity at the plants.
Thank you. Councillor Horn, and then Councillor McCann.
Mr. Brown, speaking of aging infrastructure, could you explain what has happened at Wood Street and Marion, and what is about to happen in the next few days? Thanks.
Through your worship, we have an aging storm sewer system. We have an aging infrastructure system. The storm sewer, in particular, on Wood and Marion Street, we repaired part of it a couple of years ago because the road was basically failing. It was starting to sink because you've got all these heavy salt trucks as well as regular vehicles going over it. So this year we encountered another problem at the intersection of Wood and Marion, which is connected to this particular system as well. So we've hired a contractor under an emergency dig to get this resolved. So they're basically going to finish the work that they were able to sort of connect to a couple of years ago. Once that's done, we're hopeful that the storm sewer will be able to hold and not create any holes in the road, which we have encountered, you know, holes as big as a small car at one section that just open up. So we don't want that, obviously, so we're going to work very hard the next couple of days to alleviate that.
Just to follow up, in terms of the traffic, as we all know, it's going to start to increase with the salt trucks. So will the fix accommodate the weight of those salt trucks?
Through your worship, yes, and we're hopeful that it will be done by the end of this week. So we're then hopeful that I'll be able to pave it sometime next week, so then we can bring everything back to normal, so the salt trucks can continue down their path, so they aren't deviated through another residential area.
Okay. Actually, Councillor Keith had her hand up before you, so I'll let her go next, and then Councillor McCann.
Thank you. I have two questions. One is for Mr. Brown, and that would be, There seems to be, and I'm sure it's because of the time of the year this year, but train whistles. What's the situation there for the train whistles, especially slowing down at the Isabella crossing? I thought that we had started for the process there. What's the scoop? Can you advise?
Through your worship, Forrest Pengra has been working on this particular project. I'm hopeful that we have a report to council on the 16th, I think, the next council meeting. It's a slow and painful process when we're dealing with the rail groups as well as Transport Canada, but there is a path that we have to proceed through. So we've gone to an RFP process to look at whistle cessation as per council directive. So we're doing that. We have a low bidder that we're going to recommend, council approved, so that we can continue towards the eventual possible cessation of whistles. But it does take time, and as I say, we're hopefully going to have a report to council in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you. The second question, and I think it's just come up again, and maybe Mr. Menz can best answer it. And I know the question has been asked again, but for example, Midland in the news, the concern about our IT and cybersecurity and that, where do you feel we are in this situation, Mr. Menz?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the IT staff are fully cognizant of this. I know they had another meeting just last week on this issue because it is so topical, and it does occur. Midland, Wasaga Beach, two very recent ones. My understanding is it can't be actually stopped. You know, as good as our firewalls are, it can't be stopped. It will be the subject of an R&R coming to council. I'm not sure the date, October 6th or November 4th, I think it is, but you will be getting an information report with a recommendation at that time. So we're vulnerable, but so is everybody. There's the technical abilities of these hackers. If they can get into more sophisticated places than the town of Parry Sound, like a senior government office is, they can certainly hack into us.
Councillor McCann.
Actually, I'm fine. Okay.
You're fine? Okay. All right. Any further questions? I have one from Ms. Boggs, and that is, I understand that you've been getting some calls about the sign bylaw.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'm getting calls from people pointing out to me that a sign is in front of someone's place and they know that person didn't provide permission. And there's really only one way to deal with signs that have been placed where the person, the property behind it has not provided permission, is to call the bylaw department. As you know, we run on a complaint basis bylaw program. If some resident finds a sign that is, while not technically on their property, is situated in front of their property, then whoever placed the sign is to receive permission from that owner. If they do not, and they want the sign removed, then they need to call the bylaw department. Our bylaw, this is a new bylaw that we have used for this particular election. The one we used before in the 2014 and previous elections is an overall sign bylaw that the town has for all signage issues. It didn't really have a big section on election signage, and so I drafted up a bylaw in April of this year to bring to council, a direction to post the bylaw on our website with notice so people could comment on it. Council had a few changes, so then that came back, let's see, it went out it went out March, and then April, and then May 15th it was actually passed, which is past the nomination date. But I checked my records and we had 3 candidates filed on June 19th. So No one else had been provided with the bylaw, only those candidates, and they were all notified once it was amended in June. So the final bylaw came in June 19th. So it's a little more substantial, has a little bit more detail in it than what some candidates may be used to. But again, I actually have posted this on the website, if I'm not mistaken. You know, if you find a sign that's in front of your property and you didn't provide permission, and same if it's on your property and you didn't provide permission, then you need to contact the bylaw department and they will check out the issue. And bylaw can be reached at 746-2413. Does that answer your question, Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, no further questions? Okay, correspondence, Ms. Fox.
Again, another light agenda for correspondence. Oh, sorry. Again, another light item for correspondence this meeting. We just have 3 AMO watch files for September 16th, the 13th, September 6th, the 13th, and September 20th. And that's the Association of Municipalities weekly newsletter that comes out, and it's about municipal industry news, and that was circulated to Mayor and Council and provided to me for filing.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we come to the deputation and then presentation portion of tonight's council meeting. I'd like to remind deputations that they have a maximum of 10 minutes each, including questions of clarification from council. And deputations are always subject to the same rules of conduct as members of council, and no one shall speak disrespectfully or use offensive words or insulting expressions against any member of council, staff, or another member of the public. And a good distance is about a foot away from the microphone when you're talking, or a foot and a half. And our first deputation tonight is Vanessa Bachman, Parry Sound Tourism's 2018 update. Welcome. Microphone. Oh, side button. There's a side button too. Okay. Now you're good.
Hello, Council. Through your worship, it's a pleasure to be here this evening. Again, my name is Vanessa Bachman, and I'm here to proudly provide you with an update on Parry Sound tourism activities over the last year. Last year, I wasn't able to get here as expected due to chickenpox. So, so again, Parry Sound Tourism is an independently owned destination marketing organization providing visitor information and digital marketing services to tourism businesses in Parry Sound. Some of our marketing support objectives are to grow and develop tourism in the region, form successful working relationships among regional and industry stakeholders, assist stakeholders to further develop the marketing effectiveness as one of the 5 pillars under Explorer's Edge, increase the inventory of saleable packages online, improve marketing effectiveness through data segmentation, and improve efficiencies and capacities in marketing planning, performance reporting, and sharing of best practices. As a proud partner of the 2016 Parry Sound Area Tourism Summit, Parry Sound Tourism continues to work towards fulfilling the recommendations provided by Carolyn O'Donnell Consulting, adopted by REDAC. Tourism businesses in Parry Sound benefit from the marketing efforts and visitor services Parry Sound Tourism provides. Our products include a website, social media, customer support services such as phone, email, and newsletter distribution. As of last month, we are proud to announce that Parry Sound Tourism acquired an 8x8 billboard on Highway 400 northbound. Considering Highway 400 is the gateway to Ontario's cottage country and Northern Ontario, and one of Ontario's most traveled highways, we are certain tourism businesses in West Parry Sound will benefit even more. Parry Sound Tourism has become a leader in providing information services to visitors and travel agencies and organizations at a level visitors from all around the world have come to expect. Our brand has grown immensely over the past 3 years. It is not uncommon for Parry Sound Tourism to receive inquiries to provide visitor services to tours passing through Parry Sound or provide referrals to area tourism operators. I am comfortable in saying that our referral services definitely contribute to the local economy. For example, this summer, a tour bus contacted Parry Sound Tourism to provide tour services during their time in Parry Sound and to coordinate a place to eat for them. Immediately, we reached out to the Downtown Business Association to see if there was an interest to act as a tour guide. Unfortunately, due to conflict in schedule, the administrator was unavailable. Next, we reached out to the Georgian Bay Biosphere, and the same, due to conflict of schedule, they were unavailable. I must admit, this was very short notice request. I did not want to miss out on this opportunity to promote the town of Parry Sound and was able to adjust my schedule accordingly. As well, I coordinated with the Biosphere and many tour operators to provide a welcome bag to the 30 tour bus participants traveling from Southern Ontario. This is one of the many services Parry Sound Tourism has provided. Most recently, we accepted the opportunity to co-host Hometown Hockey on their social media event, providing advertisement on our social media channels and finding video for use to promote Parry Sound. Last month, we worked with Destination Ontario in response to a request made by a local tourism operator to gather information, images, and discuss the tourism product in Parry Sound area that needed to be highlighted as a result of Parry Sound 33 fire. On the top of Parry Sound 33 fire, Parry Sound Tourism worked with local tourism operators and supported the efforts of RTO 12 to promote Parry Sound area being open for business. I am proud to share with you that our efforts to reach as many people as possible were successful. One of our posts reached over 70,000 viewers and was shared 948 times. There were 466 shares on this post within 9 hours. This post included the map that the town of Parry Sound created. This summer, we received a request to provide imagery for local trails to a European travel company. Though we did not have any summer photos on file, we worked with Explorer's Edge and compiled a set of images for their brochure. As a result of this, Parry Sound Tourism was able to coordinate a photo shoot of local area trails on behalf of Explorer's Edge. The waterfront trail was included in this photography shoot. Now that we are in fall, Parry Sound Tourism continues to work with Destination Ontario and provides weekly updates for their fall color progression report. Parry Sound Tourism also worked with Tourism Northern Ontario to provide imagery for an RV touring brochure. As you can see, gathering media and tourism information for the region is a common request that is filled by Parry Sound Tourism. Last year, we reached over 1 million people on Facebook. I am proud to say we did this with zero budget. We are on target to reach 1.3 million by the end of the year. Parry Sound Tourism currently has the largest social media following in the Parry Sound area. Our Facebook page has 5,400 likes, 2,600 on Twitter, 700 Instagram, and on Twitter last year we reached over 500,000. We have a very engaged following. To put our success into perspective, Parry Sound Tourism shared the same post that Explorer's Edge shared. Our post received 176 likes and 42 shares. That same post on Explorer's Edge received 288 likes and 42 shares. Considering Explorer's Edge has nearly 180,000 more likes than our Parry Sound Tourism Facebook, I believe we're doing pretty good. In the past year, we've had over 2,200 website visits directed to our website from destination marketing organizations, including both Ontario Travel and Explorer's Edge. Parry Sound Tourism's Facebook page has directed 3,000 visits to parrysoundtourism.com in the last year. Our website received over 35,000 visitors last year with an average of 2.5 minutes viewing. 85% were new visitors. The Town of Parry Sound website has directed over 1,800 referrals to our website in the past year. Our website is very highly trackable, thus offers a significant advantage over traditional marketing campaigns. Detailed traffic data is available daily. These reports also make recommendations for content creators to consider areas for improvement, strategic next steps based on broader online trends, and analysis of successful content. We can show month over month and year over year improvement. Since the demand for visitor information services has greatly increased and we have worked with a zero budget for several years, we are finding it difficult to carry on in this capacity and will be launching a membership later this month. It was never our intent to provide free services, however, it was important to provide any membership value. Through our membership, we will build a new website and launch a regional travel guide in February 2019. Our membership will allow us to continue to operate, grow, and fulfill our role as a community partner. Based on our analytics, it is a priority for Parry Sound Tourism to redesign its website. It is the most important communications tool, and we want it to be up to date. We have content writers ready to begin working on content for the website, and we will begin working on our guide as soon as our membership is established. Our website will strongly focus around events and itineraries. Some of our next steps: we will meet with the RTO 12 to better understand marketing strategies at an international level, to align our marketing strategies and work with operators to develop packages to sell and find out how to bring travelers to this part of Explorer's Edge. Considering we have the Georgian Bay Biosphere designation, it shouldn't be too hard. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to provide more insight to our product and an update on where we are going. We look forward to supporting you to promote Parry Sound.
Thank you. Any questions from council members? Nope. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, Councillor Horn.
Thank you for your presentation. In terms of economic outcomes, would you have any idea about the value of the work that is done through Parry Sound Tourism for the area?
I could only guesstimate at this point. Myself, I've put in over 900 hours in 3 years. At the average rate of a communications manager, it's pretty substantial. As for the impact on economy and referrals, that information is available and we could analyze it, but because we operate on a zero-based budget, it's really hard to operate the full gamut of what a destination marketing organization essentially entails. So I have to strategically make decisions on where is our best bang, and obviously it's in our stats in order to establish our membership. And you know, I think that we've surpassed the value that comes with a basic membership that you see across any DMO across Ontario. So yeah, it's definitely something we would consider on request. It would be a matter of allocating some human resources to give you that. But just this year, you know, we're referring connecting kayak tours, or the Island Queen, or the Stocky Center, or bicycling at Georgian Nordac, Kilbear Park. So yeah, I would say there is a significant value and contribution to the economy for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McCann.
Yes, thank you, Vanessa, for your presentation. When you say our organization, do you have a committee or a number of people that work as volunteers? Like, maybe you could explain a bit about the governance of your organization.
Well, Parry Sound Tourism is a private business. We have participated on many of the regional initiatives when it comes to marketing Parry Sound, such as the Tourist Summit. And, you know, through that partnership, there is no essential committee that has been created, but we do have a form of communication that has about 42 members currently that I communicate with weekly. And we have a way of, when there's something up, I bring it out to them, and if they have information, they can easily provide that information to me. It is my goal to develop some type of committee. I think it's definitely needed in our region. It's only going to benefit you know, any tourism package that we offer in our region. So as we develop our membership, we want to work closely with our members and kind of develop a sense of what they would like to see, and see where it goes from there.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything further? Nope. I thank you very much for
Thank you,
your presentation.
Thank you.
Our next presentation is from James Murphy, Executive Director for Explorer's Edge. Welcome, James.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Jackie, for accommodating. I think I'll just stick it in and we'll see what happens. Usually it goes bad after they say that.
As long as it doesn't go poof, we're okay.
try this side. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much for having me, and it's an exciting time in Parry Sound, and it has been over the last more or less year and a half, 2 years, with the amount of development that's going on and tourism operators reinvesting in their product and their businesses. From Georgian Bay Airways is a restaurant on the water. You know, Dave Anderson from Island Queen has Zodiac Tours with his boat, very successful, selling out. Got a new craft brewery in town. So it's an exciting time, and the cruise ships has been constantly growing over the last few summers, and we've invested in that with the town of Parry Sound for the buses that disperse people throughout the town, as well as your membership into the the Great Lakes Cruising Coalition, which has over the years been able to entice more ships to come in, more people to come in. So 10 minutes, no problem. I guess there may be a bell or something that goes off if I'm going. Anyway, I've got about 10 slides. I don't have a lot of detail for stats and anything, but we'll go through it, answer any questions. And by all means, if you'd like me to come back, I can come back. I think last summer, it's been a while since I've seen you, but thank you for providing RTO the office space last summer for us to come up here, set up shop, do some content writing, so on and so forth. So I'll get into it. More or less today is just to give 10 minutes, give you a quick high-level update of where the RTO is going. Last year was a very busy year. We developed a 5-year strategy. We also did a lot of background work with regards to a product development framework and a lot of research as we go into international markets. RTO is one of 13 regions in Ontario. We cover Muskoka, Algonquin Park, Almaguin Highlands, and Loring and Restoule. Our budget's $1.6 million. And we're tasked with doing workforce development, product development, investment attraction, marketing, as well as the other pillars, governance and partnership. So where we're going over the next years in order to grow tourism receipts is we're moving out of domestic markets into international markets. If you ask a tourism operator, the further they come, the more they spend, the longer they stay, higher yield for business. So that's where we're going, but in order to go into international markets, we've got to make sure our product is in place. The elephant in the room right now is workforce development, which we'll be turning our attention to. I don't think you cannot have a conversation with a business owner now in Canada, particularly this region with seasonality, that doesn't mention workforce development. So just a bit of background. Tourism is the world's largest and fastest growing industry, $7 trillion industry, according to the World Travel Council. The world's getting to be a better place. Middle class is growing. People have more disposable income worldwide. They're going to travel more. And when we speak to our partners at the province, in terms of visitor expenditures, U.S. and other international markets account for 36% of visitor spending. As I said, they stay longer, they spend more, and domestic tourism from Ontario and the rest of Canada accounted for 90% of visitation, while U.S. and other international markets only accounted for 10%. So there's an opportunity. And if you recall, in this Parry Sound Chamber of Commerce last year, they championed the Ontario Chamber of Commerce report, Closing the Tourism Gap. I believe you're probably familiar with this. What they were essentially saying is that international tourism is growing, but we're not keeping up with it. There's a gap, and there's to the tune of we're foregoing nearly 16 million in visitor spending in not capturing this international market, if you will. And challenging for Ontario is that, for whatever reason, Ontario goes to market with Toronto, Ottawa, and Niagara. They're best bets for whatever reason. But rural tourism, especially what we have to offer, we say Great Canadian Wilderness and proximity to Toronto, we have a shot at really capturing this, and we have product that resonates with international travelers. And the idea of developing this long-term strategy is dispersion. If Ontario is the gateway for international travelers coming through, let's get them up to our region, only 2 hours from Toronto. Dispersion, 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 and breaking that triumvirate by destination Canada, destination Ontario. We've got the goods, enough of, respectfully, Ottawa, Toronto, and Niagara. Come on up. So we're going international. We started this with what was called Share Your Canada. we have, 1.5 million seems a lot, but when you're going into international markets, it's not a lot of money, to be quite frank. So we have to do more with less and use strategy and process. So we tested our program. It was a $70,000 in-market budget, Share Your Canada. We ran it for 5 weeks, and essentially what we were doing is targeting expats in the UK and in the US, tapping into their emotional connection to Canada. They weren't home for the party, so we wanted them to tell stories and provide pictures of why they love Canada in order to get them into a lead database where then we can go back and sell packages to them. Marketers know it's very difficult to get people to submit not only a story and a picture. We got 1,300 entries over the course of 5 weeks. And then those entries, we asked their friends to provide us their email address to vote on the entries. And we got, in total, 7,000 leads into a lead nurturing database over the course of 5 weeks. So this was sort of the test phase to see if we've got the goods. We were very happy with the results, and we thought we're going to go for it. It's time to put this region on the map and move things forward. So now, with all the research we've done, product framework, so on and so forth, we've done our second foray into international markets. We haven't led with Algonquin Park, Muskoka, Parry Sound. We led with product, the Great Canadian Wilderness. We can pat ourselves on the back all we want that people know about us, but internationally they don't. So iconic moose, we talk about Tom Thompson, we talk about some iconic stories, content marketing, which we do very, very well. And we've launched into international markets with what you see on the screen, the Great Canadian Wilderness. Results to date, we're ahead of our projections. We're seeing lots of page views, lots of leads. It's challenging going into the US right now with the climate it's currently under, but we're resonating, the product's resonating, and we're a safe destination, we're welcoming, and then you put the Great Canadian Wilderness on top of that and you story tell. We're getting lots of leads into the database. And this is very important because if you're not aware, the RTO has been working on commercial air service into the Muskoka Airport. And, speaking about that in that room, I'd like to, the airport is in Muskoka, but the reality is that's just the hook. That's to get people here, to sell them weekend and weekday packages. The reality is we want them traveling throughout the region. There's new product up in Loring and Restoule, that circle up that way down to Georgian Bay. By the way, sailing on Georgian Bay, very iconic, the best freshwater sailing in all the world. Georgian Bay Biosphere, I could go on, but there's product here, especially going into a market like Boston. You have one of the most iconic destinations with Bobby Orr Hall of Fame here. I'd go on, Festival of the Sound, on and on. The product's here. Sometimes you just need to take it off the shelf, dust it off, tell the story in a new way, which we're doing. We're very good at content marketing. So it has been a marathon. We developed the business cases. We were stymied last year with regards to Bill C-49. It was a modernization of the Transportation Act. But if you're a farmer or in Alberta or involved in the railroad, you'll understand this. 96 pieces of legislation, but included in that was one piece of legislation that allowed rural airports to access CATSA screening services. And that's screening services for the airline industry is non-negotiable. You need them to get into the game. So we had to back off and wait a bit. Royal assent has happened, it's passed, so we're back with the airline industry, talking to them, negotiating, and planning for commercial air service in 2019, which is very interesting because the last time this was done was Mount Tremblant. That product is 45 minutes from the airport. If you've been to Tremblant, snowy weather, it's even longer. So our product, if you do a circle an hour and 15 minutes around that airport, we have tons of product that resonates with international audiences. So the airlines are coming not because an airport is ready, they're coming because marketing is a key offering from the region via the RTO and leadership from the RTO for the airlines. I will just wrap this up by saying it's, the last year and a half has been exciting for Parry Sound, not only with the new product coming into place, but our organization mobilized when the Parry Sound 33, the wildfires were taking place, and there was erroneous reporting by a news outlet with regards to Parry Sound was closed. Our office shut down, staff was deployed from Parry Sound up to Bin Inlet, up to the French River, speaking to operators, social media push. We also surveyed businesses to find out what the impact was to their bottom line in order for us to move budget and go to my board of directors and say, can we move things around? We read the responses, we felt there was a need, we contacted Breakfast Television and footed the bill for Breakfast Television coming up to do a live broadcast. Unfortunately, it took longer than expected because, as well you probably know, provincial employees are under somewhat of a lockdown right now. So it took longer than we expected to get that mobilized and get that up there. But anyway, we had the Breakfast Television up here for a morning. You know, there's only a few weeks left of the season, the fall season, but we took a shot. We had them up there. We did the new Zodiac, Bear Claw Tours, the Honey Festival, as well as there's Jeff Bites with the sailing. So additional partnerships in the region, as I mentioned, I thanked you for your generous partnership with us with regards to Hammond Transportation and moving people around, and the Great Lakes Cruising Coalition, the membership there. I believe that's a massive opportunity for Parry Sound, which will continue to work with your staff and your team partnering. We also work with employer, small businesses, partnering with them as well too. And tomorrow, on the workforce development note, tomorrow I'm bringing up 40 first-year tourism students from Georgian College to meet with business operators and have the faculty of the college look around and speak to employers about opportunities and sort of a fam tour. So we've got them going to Snug Harbor Restaurant, over to White Squall. They're staying Grand Tapatoo, and then the next day they're doing the Zodiac tour and going to Trestle Brewery. So a nice little, the business owners can meet with some of the faculty, and the first year students can get a breath. And a lot of the times when I speak to those students, they don't know there's life beyond Barrie, north of Barrie. So it's interesting. This relationship with the Georgian colleges, I've been nurturing for a few years now, so it's great that they're hosting their fam tour, and maybe we can make this an annual thing. So very exciting times. Some of the posts we do, they get great reach, but I won't get into a lot of the technical details now. So we work with your staff. Vladimir was at our summit last week and stayed for our marketing point. I met with him a couple of times. We worked with Jesse, and you know, Rob Means, him and I met for coffee many times to chat strategy and what we can do. But you know, there is opportunity for further partnerships. I'm not sure what your goals will be, but the RTO is open to exploring whether it's marketing, product development, or with the town, or you know, if there's budget set aside. We'd be more than happy to take a look at that and see how we can partner and move things along through our partnership fund. So that's kind of wraps it up. I just thought there's an opportunity to come and meet with you and say hello and give you an update. Vanessa was here, so I thought it'd be great to tag team, and she was doing hers, and follow up after her. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilor Borneman?
James, I'm going to cut to the chase. I think the operators that I talk to sometimes feel like they're orphaned a little bit, that there isn't a direct conduit to RTO 12. I guess what it boils down to, is there opportunity for a larger presence, a permanent staff presence in the area to allow those operators free and easy access? The business tends to be pretty seasonal, as you say, so for 6 or 8 months of the year, people are too busy, and for the other 4, they're trying to catch their breath and gear up for the next year, and I think they just, as I say, they feel a little bit orphaned, a little bit left behind.
Yeah, that's it. I hear that as well too, and it's difficult from the RTO's point of view, because we do have sub-region where everybody would like that service, and we have a finite budget, and we're very cognitive of the fact of the business owners require that maybe hand-holding sometimes and that presence, but they also want to ensure that taxpayers' money is going into market. So we try and find as much balance as we can with regards to how much goes into market and how much goes into admin, much like the town of Parry Sound or any government organization. So the good news is I can share with you is that many of our services are held in Parry Sound. So we are here. The businesses may not see us. And I don't think we've turned down a partnership over the last 5 years with anybody in Parry Sound. So when we get a phone call asking to partner with us, we find every way to make it work. And if there's a need for us to be here, we're here. I'm here tonight. I'm here tomorrow for 2 days. with BT, and so we are out here doing workshops. But from your point of view, you know, your question is, you know, is there an opportunity? Again, it's back to the budget. We have to find that balance, and we do have board members that have businesses here in Parry Sound, and they've always have been on a board. So, you know, I can take that back and look at it, but the board is, you know, it's a finite amount of budget and staff, and we try and keep our admin down to 20%. So money goes into the market. So thank you.
Any further questions? No? Thank you, James.
Perfect.
Yeah. There might be a couple minutes left. Is there anyone in the audience that needs to make a deputation? No? Okay. On to reports. We'll start with Councillor Horn tonight.
Surprise. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On September 24th, I attended the Parry Sound and Area Planning Board meeting. There were a number of consent applications, 2 for the Township of McDougall. There was 1 deferral. There was 2 consent applications for the Township of McKellar, and there was also 2 consent applications for the Township of Carling. That was the only meeting that was scheduled in terms of my responsibilities, but I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Menz for his 20 years of service with the town of Parry Sound. I think, if I'm not correct, this is your last council meeting?
That is correct.
So I think, you know, the pleasure has been mine for the last 8 years working with you, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Wish you well in retirement, and great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, staff, and the public. Councillor Horn has just reiterated what I would have said, so I can save your energy there in listening. But I would add to the saying of goodbye to Rob Menz, CEO. I don't have a crying towel, but I do have my sleeve, so I could just wipe the tears away and wish you much happiness in the future. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Councillor Marshall.
thank you. I haven't got a lot to report since our last meeting. September 27th, I chaired a regular meeting of the West Parry Sound Museum Board. That's it. Just want to remind that there's an all candidates meeting next week. Voting commences, I think, next Tuesday at 10 a.m., runs till October 22nd, 2018 at 8 p.m. Want to give my own personal thank you for the last 4 years to Rob. He's been there anytime I've had to call him. Doesn't matter how obtuse the question has been, he's always come with a great answer. So you've been a huge benefit not only to council and the town, but your volunteer activities with certain things like I think Mission Park, and you've gone well beyond what your job description has been in your service to the town. Thank you very much. You'll be missed.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Borneman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. Yes, to start with the all candidates meeting, I'd like to thank Sid Steiner for taking the bull by the horns, so to speak, and organizing that in the absence of any other meetings being arranged. September 20th, I did attend the Explorer's Edge Tourism Summit in Huntsville. At that day, James reported business has been good. Year over year, visitor numbers and dollars spent are up 2014 to 2016. Labor shortage is bad now and only going to get worse through the next 10 years was their estimation. And one of the reasons behind that is because kids are later entering the workforce now than they traditionally have been. I was rather concerned by the lack of a Parry Sound presence at that meeting. I do thank the folks who are serving on the board for their time and their effort, but in my view of the world, we need a stronger, more consistent voice Tourism is a huge economic driver here, and we need to pay attention to what's going on there. The 21st, I attended the Parry Sound District Municipal Meeting. In addition to Mr. Thompson's presentation, we had I think a rolling stab at a presentation regarding cannabis legislation that seems to be constantly changing and being updated on a regular basis. So I think it's wait and see what happens in that regard as the legislation is rolled out. September 25th, I attended a Smart Community Update session. Basically, they're continuing to plug away, waiting for responses from various program applications. September 26th, our Waterfront Advisory Committee met. I thank Bob Corrigan for arranging a night at the Coast Guard base. We were joined by a couple of ladies from the West Parry Sound Museum, got to view the artifacts and photos that are down there. And it's certainly an interesting place and with some really nice things. Hopefully something like open doors can be arranged again so the public can access that stuff. And hopefully some federal bureaucrat doesn't confiscate it or remove it from the area before that can happen. We did review our budget for 2018 and listed our priorities for next year's budget. On September 27th, and again this morning, I was attending meetings at the airport. On the 27th, I attended the Chamber of Commerce celebration cruise. I want to thank and congratulate Christy and Gail for the efforts they put together there. And for Vlad, he seems to be the invisible man. I'm not sure that many people in Parry Sound really know who he is, but he does have a pile of irons in the fire, and it seems to be talking to everyone. This afternoon, I got an email from Brad Weiler. It says that Hockeytown is growing exponentially and that more volunteers are needed, that for those who are interested, they can contact him or Miss McNamara, I apologize, or they can go to the town's website, parrysound.ca/hockeytown, and fill out volunteer registration forms, and your help would be greatly appreciated. So Mr. Menz arrived in Parry Sound a few months before I arrived at the table. So over the past 20 years, Rob's been a big part of this, the things that have happened here. Rob, you've always been professional and classy. You've always been look for solutions rather than excuses or reasons not to do things. I want to thank you for the time and the effort that you've put into working for the town, and I do very much want to wish you the very best in whatever you choose to do in the future. I hope you get tired of retirement in 6 months and decide to hang out your shingle as a consultant or come back to work in some capacity, because the skill set and the people skills that you have are hard to replace. Good luck. Thank you. That's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor McCann.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow council members and staff and people watching, and those here in the gallery and those watching at home. Excuse me. On Friday, September 21st, as Councillor Borneman has mentioned, with him and with Mayor McGarvey, I attended the District of the Parry Sound Municipal Association meeting, this time hosted in Orville. The St. Thomas Anglican Church people put together a good catered, wonderful lunch. We thank them for that. Seguin Mayor Bruce Gibbon opened up the meeting with words of welcome to everyone. And as you heard, our own Chief Dave Thompson was on hand to talk about some of the things such as the paramedicine, as you heard him describe earlier in answer to Councillor Borneman's question. But we also heard about the Parry Sound Fire 33 and an update, and about some other interesting things that we all need to know. We also had an interesting report from Susan Church and Jeff Buell of Blue Sky Economic Growth Corporation. They talked about advocating for broadband across the north. And as Councillor Borneman mentioned, there was a talk on cannabis legislation. And also in the afternoon, we heard from Stefan Zazerbach, a senior planner with Planscape, and Al Shaw, senior ecologist with Riverstone Environmental Solutions. They talked about the challenges of developing and planning around endangered species. On Wednesday, September 26th, I attended the Belvedere Heights Monthly Board of Management meeting. We set October 18th as the date for our annual general meeting. Everyone is invited. Regular business was attended to, and we had a report from Bunny Davis, who is chair of Family Council. And I would also like to add my note of congratulations and best wishes to Rob Menz. Rob, 4 years ago, Councillor Marshall and myself were the newbies, and he really took the time to show us, along with other staff members around the town, and what we needed to know and do, and procedurals and bylaws and all kinds of important stuff. So thank you so much for your service towards us and to council and to the town for over the years. And I know that this is just a turning point for you, that you have some exciting plans ahead of time, ahead of this. And so I gather that you will not be letting any grass grow under your feet. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much.
And that's my report.
Thank you. Council, staff, and public, Friday, September the 21st, the Parry Sound District Municipal Meeting has been already talked about, and I certainly thanked Pat Vanini, Executive Director for the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, to attend the meeting to discuss the cannabis issue and give some background, as it seems to be, as Councillor Borneman says, a moving target at times. September 21st in the evening, we're talking about Vlad, our Economic Development Officer. Vlad and Rob Menz and I met with a potential developer who's looking at coming to the area and purchasing an existing business and expanding it to create more employment. So we're certainly hoping that everything works out well with his financing, and that this moves forward because it'll be good for the whole area. September 26th, 27th, and 28th, I attended AMO meetings in Toronto. It was an Indigenous Task Force meeting, AMO executive meetings, Committee of the Whole, and AMO board meetings. October 4th, I'll be at Queen's Park in Toronto with AMO meetings and the government. So we have what they call MOU meetings, or Memorandum of Understanding meetings, with different ministries. So busy time. Some dates. Holiday Train, supposed to be November 30th. Remember Rogers Hometown Hockey, October 13th and 14th. And I was informed the other day that there is a new business going into the former CN station. So if you see some activity there, it'll be the tenant that is making leasehold improvements and to start his business rolling. So, and I will save my accolades for Mr. Menz for the end. Okay, on with the agenda. And as of note, there were no ratifications of matters from the closed agenda. So, moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McCann, that whereas years of research confirm the benefits of high-quality childcare for young children's intellectual, emotional, social, and physical development and later life outcomes, and whereas childcare promotes the well-being of children and responds to the needs of parents, families, and the broader community by supporting quality of life so that citizens can fully appreciate in and contribute to the economic and social life of their community, and whereas many studies show that trained, knowledgeable early childhood educators and childcare staff are the key to quality childcare, and that good wages and working conditions are associated with higher job satisfaction and morale, lower staff turnover, which leads to high quality education and care. Therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and Council declare October 16th, 2018 Child Care Worker and Early Childhood Educator Appreciation Day in recognition of the education, dedication, and commitment of child care workers to children, their families, and the quality of life in the community. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Horn, whereas Local Government Week aims to increase youth and public awareness about the important role of local government plays in our communities, therefore be resolved the Mayor and Council declare the week of October 14th to 20th, 2018 Local Government Week in the town of Parry Sound. Discussion? I will say that just to give a little bit on this, is that Local Government Week will also include Councillor Keith and I going into the school and answering questions from the grade 5 class, and this year it's at Parry Sound Public School. And then there will be a mock council meeting October the 16th? Yeah. Okay. Here in the council chambers, where the students from that class will come in and have a mock council meeting and all the experience of local government. So it's always been extremely worthwhile in the past. So if you can attend, the only thing is remember that if more than 3 councillors attend, we do have to declare a meeting of our own, but that's fine if you want to be here. It's great for the students. Yes, Ms. Box.
If I could just point out, it's not technically open to the public because all the seats will be filled with students.
Yeah.
So just so people are aware.
Yeah, but okay. Council members.
Yes,
can certainly attend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anything further? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Horn, second by Councillor Keith, that the Director of Public Works be authorized to reallocate the 2018 capital budget lining of... Oop. Okay. Okay. This one first. Please. Okay, 931. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman, that Council receives the 2017 Reserve and Reserve Fund Annual Report attached to Schedule A in compliance with the town's Reserves and Reserve Fund policy. And 2, that Council approves the closure of the Parry Sound Power Promissory Note Reserve and the Fire Training Reserve Fund. Discussion. Councillor Keith.
Perhaps the director here, Ms. Chen, can just explain what is happening here in a short version. Thanks.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I want to ask you, are you talking about the closure of the 2?
I'm talking about both the closure and what this reserve fund is. Two parts. Thank you.
Through you, Ms. Mayor. As the town's current reserve funds policy, Director of Finance is mandated to report to Council on the balance of the reserve funds, and also to make sure that the management of reserve funds are in compliance with the policy, and also to review the reserve and the reserve funds so that we make sure that all the reserve and the reserve funds are up to date, and if there are any funds have accomplished their purposes and we don't need in the future, so we can close it. And the closure of the reserve or reserve funds have to be approved by Council.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay. Now we're on this. Item 941, moved by Councillor Horn, second by Councillor Keith, that the Director of Public Works be authorized to reallocate the 2018 capital budget lining of Parry Sound Drive culverts, which is a $150,000 provincial grant, to repairs to the existing storm sewer system on Meadow Street. Any discussion? Councillor Marshall.
Yes. Just to Mr. Brown, I think reading the report, is $150,000 going to be enough to fix this problem, which seems to be a chronic issue over on Meadow Street?
Mr. Brown?
Through your worship, I hope so. We are not rebuilding Meadow Street. If we were, we'd need $1,500,000. So I'm hoping that with the money that we're suggesting to be reallocated, that we can go in behind the properties to the property that the town actually owns. It's a landlocked piece of property, and revisit that site, make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do, and then make a more significant or powerful connection onto Meadow Street, so that will allow the drainage to go to where it's supposed to go. And then in the future, hopefully there will be more provincial and federal funding so that we can redo Meadow Street completely to look after the rest of the work that needs to be done there. But it's the stormwater that we need to look at that's in behind people's properties right now. That historically has been doing what you see on the map that I attached. Been doing it for dozens of years. It's just weakened over time.
Okay, anything further? Councillor Keith?
So, Mr. Brown, would it be fair to assume that once, first of all, when will this project occur? How long is expected to take? And furthermore, will there be some monitoring when it's completed to make sure or assess how effective it is, please?
Through your worship, I'm very hopeful that if council approves this tonight, that I will get on this tomorrow, because I want to get it done this year, as much as we can. And if we can get it all done this year, then yes, we'll be doing certainly some monitoring over the seasons, just to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Borneman, second by Councillor Marshall, that bylaw number 2018-6867, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement with Four Sports Incorporated for a 3-year term to operate the Arena Pro Shop located at the Bobby Orr Community Center, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? And that's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Marshall, second by Councillor Borneman, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? Councillor McCann.
Yes, a question, I guess this would be for Ms. McNamara. Was there any kind of a contest or a request out for bids, proposals for this? Perhaps maybe you could tell us how Four Sports Incorporated has come to this point. I understand they're doing a good job, but just looking to see that this was as open as possible to the public.
If I may, through you, Your Worship.
Yep.
Thank you very much for the question, Councillor McCann. The Pro Shop down at the Bobby Orr Community Centre was advertised for request for proposals last year for best use. At the time, one proposal was received. That was received by Four Sports. There was no other expression of interest in the community at that time. When that former agreement was signed, there was an option for renewal. So Four Sports was approached first. They were interested in renewing this lease, and they are interested in a 3-year term this time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything further? No? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Horn, that bylaw number 2018-6868, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Keith, seconded by Councillor Horn, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? And that's carried. So, prior to adjourning, I'd like to offer the following information to the public regarding the next council meeting. The next regular meeting of council for the town of Parry Sound is scheduled to take place at 52 Seguin Street in the council chambers located on the top floor. Public access to the building is off Gibson Street. The next regular council meeting of council is Tuesday, October 16th, 2018. All regular council meetings are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. Regular and special meetings are now live streamed. Please check news and public notices on our website at www.parrysound.ca for instructions to watch live or see earlier council meetings. Agendas, changes to the council meeting schedule, and notices of special council meetings will be posted on the town's website at www.parrysound.ca under news and public notices prior to a council meeting. The public is able to view an electronic copy of the complete agenda with attachments on the town's website. Just search council calendar and the date of the meeting. Should you wish to receive the combined agenda via email, you may make that request on our website or contact the clerk at the municipal office. The minutes of the council meetings will be posted within 2 days after the council meeting on the town's website and on the bulletin board located in the municipal office entrance. Your TV will continue to air regular Parry Sound council meetings on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Following a regular council meeting, Your TV listings contact www.yourtv.tv. And please remember that voters are responsible for checking the voters list to ensure they are on it and that their information is correct. Eligible voters can check the list in the public library, the Parry Sound Fire Hall, or may call the office at 705-746-2101. And finally, this is Mr. Men's last council meeting. On behalf of council, I'd like to thank him for his years of service with the town of Parry Sound as the Chief Administrative Officer, and that 20 years of service is outstanding considering how short-lived some CAOs can be. But Rob, thank you very much for your contributions to the community. I mean, the Georgian Jumpers, and you know, you're involved in community churches and a variety of different things, and some people don't know that he and Ruth and some others actually put on community dinners so that children could be fed in the community to give them full bellies. Mission Park, a variety of other different things. It is greatly appreciated, and I know that you're going to do some wonderful things in Colombia to help people there. So again, on behalf of myself, council, and certainly staff too, I'm sure that we wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and have a great retirement.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, I really would like to thank Mayor and Council. You know, the relationship that I've had with, I think particularly this council has been exceptional. I think that so many other CAOs would give their left arm to have that kind of relationship that senior staff does with their mayor and council. And I've been in lots of situations where there's been dysfunctional councils in other communities. Actually, Peter Brown asked me like last week, I think it was, or this week, last week, so what's been the craziest thing that ever happened in a Parry Sound Council meeting? And I really couldn't think of anything that would be, I said, I can tell you lots of stories in other municipalities, but I really couldn't think of anything where it's been haywire. But boy, I could tell you some doozers from a couple other municipalities. And you don't have to go too far to see across Ontario that councils that don't get along. And I think what it's based on trust and respect that council has for each other, and also for staff. And I think that goes both ways, that staff in turn trusts and respects council. And you can get so much more done that way. It just lends itself to stability. And I think that's, rather than being focused on how somebody is trying to undermine somebody else, whether it's on council or among staff, you actually focus on getting things done and making decisions. Whether you agree or not, council makes decisions and moves forward. It's been, it just makes such a difference in the functioning of a municipality. I would say that when I came here, I was supposed to be here for 6 months. I never thought my last council meeting would be some 20 and a half years later. That was not quite the plan at the time, but it certainly worked out excellent for me. You know, when I came, I can remember Council Boardman mentioned, and you were here at that point too, that election of '97. It was quite a changeover in council, and Wolf Sabrin was the incoming mayor, and I can still picture him coming in. I don't know if it was before he was elected or was just after election. He said, "Rob, there's so much potential on that waterfront," and I knew that. And I think that's what really got me about Parry Sound, this little town that before I came here, I didn't really know that it was on Georgian Bay. You know, it's like this potential, and I see, as was mentioned earlier, we see these things now with the Trestle Brewery and Georgian Bay Airways, the whole rebuild, and the Island Queen with the new tour boat, the Greystone condos that are here. You can see that it's our time. It's our time. We've always talked about being development ready, and we're there. It's just getting that. Now we have Vlad on board as a rec dev officer. It's I think things are happening.
And the OPP station.
And the OPP station, maybe a new high school, or semi-super school, whatever it's going to be now exactly. You know, but just going forward, I do certainly wish you all the best as well. And thank you very much for your support over the years.
Thank you. The meeting's adjourned.